Okay. Anybody has any doubt on the previous classes, guys? Please go ahead and ask me if you have any doubt. Okay, that's good if there is no doubt. How many of you have done this? Create subscriptions, share subscription, resource group, data lake Gen 2 creation, and a blob storage creation. How many of you have done it? Please type yes in the chat if you have done it. Okay, I got 3 yes. How many? What about others, guys? Please respond. I want please response, guys. Please respond. There are 19 people. Please say yes, no. It's completely fine if you haven't done it, but please respond. Okay, we'll do today. Yes, no, yes. Today is my first class. We'll do after the class started. Okay, got stuck along the process. Okay, so if you want to share, if you're stuck, if you want to share that, hey Abhishek, can you help me here? I can help you out. Uh, all right. Anybody has any question, guys, which you want to ask? If not, then we'll
Hi,
proceed.
Abhishek. I tried it. Like I also faced some issues. Like while creating the subscription, I was
Uh-huh.
getting some errors due to that card not accepted something. But
Uh-huh.
today, like in the afternoon, it worked actually.
Uh-huh.
But I tried. I should still create that resource group and everything. Only like now the setup is ready, but I should create that resource group and the storage account, and I should still try that blob storage and the data lake storage.
Okay, all right. Okay, fine. So guys, yeah, the purchasing a subscription is a straightforward process, right? You guys can go ahead and purchase it. If you face some problem, just try it incognito mode. It's a normal purchase thing, right? You should be able to do it. Now let's try to revise a bit and then we will start, okay? So I started the recording as well, I think so. Let me check. Okay, I started the recording. All right. So what are the things we have learned till now? Okay, so let me summarize. Um, we basically understood that um, we first of all started with like what kind of a project I have done in my 8 years of career, right? And then what will be my day-to-day responsibility that I given a brief, okay? So in my 8 years of career, I have done three kinds of a project. Either it is a predictive analytics project or a descriptive analytics project, or I have done a data migration, okay? Now, whenever I am doing this kind of a project, what kind of a team I worked with, right? So generally in my team, there was a product, guys, I'm muting people, right? So if you have some question, you can unmute yourself and ask, but I'm muting everyone just so that I get a better clarity in my voice, okay? So now, generally in my team, there is a product owner who is a non-technical person who takes care of all the requirement, talking to business, getting the requirement, understanding what needs to be developed. Then solution architect was making a architecture diagram. Then we have a data engineer, data analyst, DevOps, admin people, and a data business analyst working together to fulfill the objective. Objective is either a predictive analytics, descriptive analytics, or a data migration, whatever it is, right? To fulfill that, right? And now when you're working with a team, you should understand what is the role of a data engineer. Okay, so data engineer role is to do data movement and data transformation. That is the role of a data engineer. Data engineer will not take care of like admin stuff or deployment or creating the resource. All of that data engineer will not do, right? So this should be very, very clear. Okay. Now we understood this, and after that we understood that, hey, like what are the different roles that I given a brief, right? And then we understood that, hey, what are the different clouds are there? There are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, right? In the public cloud, like you will get like whatever resource you will get, it will be deployed in the Microsoft centers, cloud centers, right? And when you opt for a private cloud, Microsoft will come to your premise and then do the deployment. Okay, that we understood, right? And after that, we understood there is a hybrid cloud, which is mix of both. Then we understood about IaaS, SaaS, and PaaS. Then we understood how to create a subscription. And then to understand how to create a subscription, we basically understood that, hey, whenever any person go to Microsoft, that, hey, Abhishek went to Microsoft for a account by going to portal.azure.com. Microsoft will assign a tenant to Abhishek, right? And then Abhishek can like purchase a subscription, right? So there is a project, there is an organization, and then in organization we have a project. In every project, there can be like environment-wise 3 subscription or 1 subscription for all the environment. But we will always and always have 3 resource group, right? In a project, 3 resource group, always, right? It's not like 1 resource group for all the environment, but always one project, 3 resource group. Okay. And then we understood the naming convention on it of it. Like we had done the normal chat GPT and then understood the naming convention a little bit, right? And then we created a resource group. And after that, we created one resource, which is our first resource, which is storage account, right? And why we created storage account? Because we understood that storage account is basically a first layer of storage in Azure cloud in generally in all the architecture, no matter you're doing a real-time streaming architecture or a batch processing architecture, right? Your storage account is always a first layer of storage. That is why we created a storage account. Okay. All right. And in our project as well, which we are trying to do, right? This particular project here also, we will be storing the data in storage account and then reading it to the Databricks and then doing the transformation. So that is the first layer of storage. That is why we created a storage account. Then we started understanding our storage account, right? So till here we covered. Okay. So in summary, we covered about what are the different roles. What are the different roles? Then we covered about like public, private, hybrid cloud. Then we covered about IaaS, SaaS, and PaaS. And I highlighted that this is very, very important from AZ 900 exam if you're giving that, right? Just both of them. Nobody will ask you in the interview, but it's important from the AZ 900 exam. Then we understood about like subscription, resource group, right? And then we understood about, and also tenant, right? Here tenant organization that I'm not writing, but yeah, we understood about tenant as well. And then we created storage account, right? But we haven't went too much details into the storage account. Okay. Now, when I'm explaining a storage account, okay, please pay attention because as I highlighted in the previous lecture as well, this is most important interview question. If you give like 20 interviews, probably in 15 interviews, they will ask you. Okay. So please pay attention and please understand it very, very carefully. Okay. And then if you have any doubt, you can ask me as well. Okay. All right. So this is very important from the interview perspective. All of this will nobody will ask you in the interview. Okay. So this is not, nobody will ask you what is source group, what is subscription, what is tenant, what is IaaS, SaaS, PaaS, all of that. Nobody will ask you. Probably in the interview, somebody can ask you, hey, what is your team size? Just to understand whether you have worked out or not, right? How many people in your team, right? That can be asked, right? What was your role in the project, right? That can be asked. So now you can probably say this answers, right? What was your team size, right? So in your team size was around 6 to 7 people, 8 people. You are working with project manager, 2, 3 data engineers, a particular admin person, a solution architect, right? And along with that, you have a DevOps person, and you know the roles of each of the person, right? So you are very confident about it. You should be able to answer, give this answer. And now, if somebody asks you that, yeah, so these are the question you can ask, right? Yeah, you can say, right, in the interview. Now, let's try to understand what is storage account. Okay. So here, I will open the portal.azure.com. You can probably star mark this portal.azure.com because we will be opening this always in the class. Okay. Now I'm going to storage account, and there are multiple storage here, right, which we can see. So let me open this. Now, storage account has 4 types. Okay. Data lake storage, file service, queue service, and table service. It has 4 types. If you go over here as well, you'll see data lake storage, file service, queue service, and table service. If you open this as well, you will see here, you can see blob storage, file service, queue service, table service. Now here we are able to see blob service, and here we are able to see data lake service, right? Data lake service. Now in storage account, there is an option. Either you can choose for a blob service or you can choose for a data lake storage, right? You can choose for it along with file service, queue service, and table service, right? So storage account has 4 types, right? Either you choose to create a data lake storage or a blob storage along with file service, queue service, table service, right? So let's try to understand it definition wise. So all of that we understood, right? Already, what is cloud? What is the difference between cloud, IaaS, SaaS, PaaS, hybrid cloud, private cloud, subscription, resource group, resources, and all of that is not important right now. All right. The storage account has 4 types. Either you choose to create a blob service or data lake Gen 2, then you have a file service, queue service, and table service. In our lecture, which will go for 4 months, we will always and always.
किसके
Guys, please mute yourself. All right. So in our lecture, which will go for 4 months, we will always and always work on blob service and data lake Gen 2, right? And in my projects as well, which I have worked in the past, I always and always work with blob storage and data lake Gen 2, right? Either blob or data lake Gen 2. In our lectures, we will not work on file service, queue service, and table service, right? But from the definition wise, I can explain you, right? So for file storage is being used to share large file by assembly lift and shift method. Storage queue is being used to handle messages. Table storage is being used to handle NoSQL data. Storage account has 4 types. Either you choose to create a blob storage or data lake Gen 2, then you have a file service, queue service, and table service. File service is being used to share large file by assembly lift and shift method. Queue storage is to handle messages. Table storage is to handle NoSQL data. I never worked upon this tree storage. Neither 95% of the time you won't be working upon this. In our project, we will be using data lake Gen 2 and a blob storage. This we will be using, and we will understand the evolution of it, right? So back in 2016 and 17, when I started working in Azure Cloud, I was using a blob service, right? During that time. Now, in all the projects, we generally use a data lake Gen 2. Okay, that is what we use nowadays, right? People either migrated from blob service. So in 2020 or 21, there was many migration projects from blob to data lake Gen 2. So in one of the company, I done the migration from blob storage to data lake Gen 2. So that also people were doing. So what what can be the interview question? The interview question can be, somebody can ask you, what is the difference between a blob storage and data lake Gen 2? What is the advantage of going for data lake Gen 2 rather than going for a blob storage, right? So this can be the interview question. So, or somebody can ask you that, hey, explain me the storage evolution, right? From blob, why we went into data lake Gen 2, from data lake Gen 2, why it's important to build the data lake on top of a data lake Gen 2, what is lake house, right? And what is Unity catalog. So when we will understand all of this, you will be able to answer other questions as well. But for in today's class, we'll understand what is blob storage and what is data lake Gen 2 in detailed manner. And this should be very, very clear. Okay, so let me open another slide to explain this. All right. So common interview question for Azure data engineering position, 5 difference between data lake storage and blob storage. Okay, what are those 5 difference? Let's try to understand this. So data lake storage supports a hierarchical structure, allowing you to create a directory within a container, while blob storage has a flat structure. What does it mean? So if I go over here, if I open this storage, right? Storage account has 4 types: data lake storage, file service, queue service, and table service. Now here in the data lake storage, you can see the hierarchical namespace enabled. And over here, if you see hierarchical namespace disabled, right? So let's notice this and let's go ahead with that. So if I open this now, in in storage account, whatever is here, we call it as a container, right? So you can see this container over here. It is nothing but a folder, but nowadays, going forward, we will not say folder. We will always and always say container, right? Always container. So now let's talk like in this particular manner, because in sometimes in the interview, if you refer this as a folder, people will feel that you are like just saying it, because once you start working in a job, day-to-day job, the container word is very commonly used in day-to-day job. So say it container, don't say it folder. Okay, so here whatever is here, we will say it as a container. Okay. Now let me open this, right? And over here, uh, if I open this, right? Now over here, what I can do, I can create a directory, right? Suppose like folder, kind of a directory I can create. I can create this directory, right? So here I created this directory, a folder that I created, right? But now if I go to like, so now this is container and this is directory, right? So inside the container, whatever you create is a directory. Here also, if you create a directory, here also you can create a directory, right? So in data lake Gen 2, it's a
Huh?
hierarchical. Yes.
Uh,
All right. I'm muting. All right, guys. So now here you can create a container and inside that you can create a directory. Okay. So in data lake Gen 2, you can create a directory inside a container, which you cannot do in the blob service. So let me show you that. So if I go over here, if I open this, if I open this, now here you can see directory option, but if I just create here, you can see, right, add a virtual directory. This will create a virtual directory. A virtual directory does not exist in Azure until you paste or upload blobs into it. To paste blobs into it, you basically, this is a virtual directory. This is not an actual directory. This is a virtual directory. What does it mean, right? It should have a file. Otherwise, you cannot see it. Suppose if I create this particular like a directory over here, here you cannot see this, right? Here there's nothing you can see, right? So I will show you from Databricks how you can create this directory, right? And how you can put the file inside it. But until unless one until unless you don't put a file inside it, you cannot see it, right? For example, like now if I put a file inside it, give me a moment, let me put something, or let me put okay, all right. So we put a file as well. Now let's try to understand the difference, right? So here I put a file, then only I can see it. But if I go here, if I open this, now here I can see all of this directory without like like storing a file as well, I can see. Suppose if I create a directory here, like a input directory or whatever, input directory, then here there's no file, right? Still I can see it, right? Now it doesn't inherit the directory properties as well. What I mean by that, suppose if I click over here, I can see this property, rename, copy URL, SAS, manage ACL, right? All of that I can see. What does it mean? I can create a token of this directory, right? And I can mount this directory to read the file directly from here. That I can do, right? Now, if you want to do this in the blob service, that you cannot do. For example, like if I go to blob now, and if I click over here, I'm not getting all of this option, right? SAS, ACL, that I'm not getting. So for example, if I have 10 developers, right? 10 developers, and all of them are working with me, right? Now suppose I basically created this container, and inside the container, what I want that, hey, like I want to basically store some sensitive file over here, which I don't want to give the access to all the developer, that I don't want to give, right? So in that case, what you can do, you can manage ACL, you can manage the people level of access over here, right? So you can see the people level of management you can do, right? In Data Lake Gen 2, which you cannot do. Okay. So over here, Data Lake supports a hierarchical namespace, allowing you to create a directory within a container, while blob is a flat structure. What does it mean? You can create a directory inside a container, which you cannot do in the blob service. In the blob service, you can only create a virtual directory, right? That only you can create, which means that you can basically create a folder and store the file within it, but you cannot see this, right? Rename, SAS, sorry, rename you can see, but SAS, ACL you cannot see. So Data Lake storage allows you to set more granular access permission using access control list, which means that if I have 10 to 20 developers, I can set up a directory level of access in Data Lake Gen 2, which I cannot do in the blob service. Now, Data Lake Gen 2 is ideal for big data analytics workload, while blob storage is suited for general purpose file storage, right? Now, suppose somebody can ask Abhishek, why there is a blob storage? If it is like nobody is using this, why first of all we have a blob storage now, right? So now the answer of that question is blob storage can be used in some of the cases. Let me also tell you few cases in which blob storage can be used. Okay. So suppose in my project, right? In my project, which I am doing right now, like, um, okay, so suppose this was the project, right? Suppose in Aldi, they have the data in different source system, right? And then they have a cloud storage. They want to do the dashboarding. This is what they want to do, right? But now, like all of this data, you are moving in a like in some sort of a data lake storage that you are moving, right? Data lake storage. Now, when you are doing this migration from different source system, right? Already, like when you started doing the migration, right? You came to know that there are many flat files, right? Because sometimes when you start the project, right? You don't like it's very difficult. Like sometimes that hey, in the Power BI we need to make a dashboard quickly as soon as possible to satisfy the requirement, right? But in the source, setting up the connection, it's not so easy. For example, in Germany especially, like setting up the the communication from one environment to another environment, it's not so straightforward because they have very many security compliance and all of that. So it's very not so straightforward, right? Especially in Germany. So already said that hey, like or your project manager said that hey, your solution architect said that let's get a storage, right? Let's get a temporary storage in which we can just store some flat files, right? Like like whatever connection, suppose a SharePoint connection we are not able to make from this storage. So what we will do, we will get the flat files directly from the source team and we'll store it here, right? Flat files. So suppose in all the project there can be like 20, 30 flat files for which nobody knows the source where it is stored, or we just want to use some flat files to import it to do some analysis. Or suppose already needs a like real estate data, or already needs a weather report, or already needs a suppose near already we have any supermarket such as Rave and like nearby things, right? Which is not stored anywhere in the system. Or suppose already needs how many table chairs are there in the store, right? To understand how much volume we can allocate, right? Those kind of a data is not readily available. It is available for store managers only. That can happen, right? Suppose the Reliance has many stores across India, but like Reliance, like a Power BI report wants to understand volume, how much volume is occupied and how much volume is not occupied, right? For that, you need to understand how many displays are there, and displays can change, and it is maintained by the store managers. So it's very difficult to store it, right, somewhere. So you probably get some flat file from the store manager that you want to import. So you have some flat files which you want to import, and then this flat files are just flat file. There are like 20, 30 flat files, right? And for that, you probably don't want to go for data lake storage. You just want to store it in some sort of a storage, and then you will check it out when you have a proper storage, right? So in that case, you can use a blob storage, right? Or suppose if your requirement is that like your product owner told that, hey, we just need to build a POC right now in which we'll get some data like 30, 40 data set. You just try to move that to the cloud location and make a Power BI dashboard so that the POC is done. For that, I will use a blob storage. I will not go for data lake storage, but because the blob storage can fulfill my requirement, right? I just need 40, 50 file. I can put it. I don't need a granular access. There is no big amount of data. All of that I don't need, right? So I can go for a blob storage in that case. Okay.
Abhishek,
So
does
yeah,
cost is affected in both of the storage or
yeah.
nothing?
Cost is affected. That is the second point. So data lake storage is more expensive
Hello.
than a blob storage because of the advantage of it. So it is giving a directory level of access. It is also optimized for big data analytics workload. So data lake storage is basically better than the blob storage, and then hence it is costly. But in general, storage is cheaper in cloud world. What is basically expensive is networking, and what is also expensive is the computation. Like if you want to compute something using a Spark, or if you want to move the data from one point to another, that is costly. Your networking is costly. But what is not costly is storage. Okay. But in general, the data lake storage is basically expensive than the blob storage, right? So that is the point here. Then data lake storage is optimized for big data analytic workload, high like throughput of data, right? That is also data lake storage point, right? So data lake storage is basically made for big data processing because it gives you the benefit of it, right? So over here you can just like create multiple folders, and then you can go to the blob storage. Sorry, you can just like create a multiple folder and then do it. But in the blob storage, you cannot do it. In the blob storage, if you go here, if you open this, right, then you have like over here itself, you can set up that. Over here itself, you have SaaS, access policy, all of that you can do in the container level, but you cannot do in the directory level. That you cannot do. All right. Now, sometimes people have this question that, hey, Abhishek, this is just a small difference, right? I can just like create 10 folders here or 20 folders here, and I can manage with that, right? Because the directory level of access, I do have it here, right? So I can just create like 10,000 folder here, and then I can manage with that, right? Because if I want to give a directory level of permission, I can just generate SaaS on directory and I can solve that problem, right? But you need to understand how project works. Like suppose if you basically say that like ideally over here, if I have like a landing region, inside the landing region, I will have multiple directory that, hey, I am getting a EDH data like from one particular EDH source, I'm getting this data, and then from EDW as well, I'm getting this data. So I will have these two
Hello, Abhishek
folders.
sir. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Data like return again. I can't understand, sir.
What you cannot understand?
Data lake conceptual.
Data lake concept.
Yes, sir. Uh,
What do you mean by that? Data lake concept means
Storage and processing, sir. Power BI.
like have you watched the previous recording, two recordings?
No, sir.
Okay, can you watch it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please watch it, and if you don't understand, please ping me or let's connect on the next class. Okay, please watch it once. Okay,
Yes, sir.
the two recording we shared to you.
Yes,
Okay, fine. Let's move ahead.
yes.
So now, like here, I have this landing region. Now I will store the EDH data in the EDH folder, EW data in the EDW folder. Now, suppose I have a bronze, gold, silver, different folders here, right? Now, suppose somebody says that, hey, the sales order data you need to protect, right? You need to give this access on the folder level, or somebody also tell that this particular data should be protected on the like granular access you need to give, right? Now, either you move this is the all both of the folder above in your container level, right? Which will mass around the whole structure, whatever you have, right? It will mass around completely. So it doesn't work in that particular sense that you just move all the data over here and then you try to manage with that in the blob storage. That is not feasible. So hence, now if I try to conclude, what is the difference between a data lake storage and a blob storage? In data lake storage, you can create a directory inside a container, which is not a virtual directory. It is a real directory which has a ACL access control list. It has a SAS token which you can also create and then mount it on the directory level. That also you can do, which you can only do in the blob storage on the container level. Okay. And also data lake Gen 2 is optimized for big data analytics workload. It is bit costly than the blob storage, right? So this is what you can say in the interview. Okay. So these are the five difference: data lake storage, access control, use case, cost, and also when to use our data blob storage. Data lake blob storage can be used for some sort of a fixed requirement that, hey, you want to store like 50 flat file or 80 flat file or whatever. In that case, you can use it for mock POCs. You can use it whenever you feel that your solution, you don't want to build a futuristic solution, right? Limited 3 months, 4 months, a small project you want to do, like a POC you want to do, you want to store a flat file. For that case, you can use a blob storage, but generally, in general, we use a data lake Gen 2 only nowadays. We don't use a blob storage. Okay. Now, if you have any question about anything, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll proceed and try to create a data lake Gen 2 and a blob storage as well.
Are we using data lake Gen 2 storage here in our current project?
Yeah, we will be using data lake Gen 2 only.
Okay.
Anybody has any doubt, guys, on anything? Please tell me if you have any doubt. Okay. All right. So now what are the interview questions somebody can ask you? Somebody can ask you, hey, what is storage account? Somebody can also ask you, what is data lake storage? And what is the difference between data lake storage and blob storage? Somebody asks you that, hey, how the storage has evolved with time, right? Somebody can also ask you that, hey, when to use a blob storage, right? So those questions can be asked, and I hope you can answer those questions. Now let me try.
Abhishek, sorry, one
Yes.
question.
Yes.
This blob storage is a distributed storage or
What do you mean by distributed storage?
meaning does it support distributed processing?
Yes.
I mean distributed storage meaning let's say there is a big file of some 5 GB. So
Mhm.
it will be split across multiple nodes or it will be saved in a particular location only.
The processing is being done like it's not a machine, right? It's basically a storage. So howsoever you want to store it, that you can store it here using Databricks. It is just a storage. Okay, like so it will not inherently like distribute. So suppose if you store a small 5 GB file here, and if you store it as a single file, then it will be stored as a single file only, right? Guys, please mute yourself. All right. Sirsa, I have answered your question. Suppose here, if you just store this file as like a small file, then it will be stored as small file itself. Now, if you store like this, for example, this is a 10 million order type. For example, like let me open this file, 10 million parquet file. Now, if so, this particular 10 million file I stored like this, like 4 files, then it is stored like this. But if you break it, it will be broken like this, and this you can do using Databricks. But if you store as a single file, it will be stored as a single file only.
Okay, so it's not like there are multiple nodes and it is split across the nodes and all,
This
right?
is just a storage. This doesn't have any node. What do you mean by
Okay.
node?
I
This is
mean,
just a
like
storage.
data.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is just a storage. What basically means, what node means, like if you have a node in Databricks, there you do distributed computing, there you do the distributed processing, all of that. Now you store the file here. After your processing is done, and howsoever you want to store it, there you can store it. So suppose here I just stored this order date in 10 million sales data in different date format, right? That you can see here, right? So I have stored it in a storage in this format. That is why I stored right over like this. But if you store it as a single file, it will be stored as a single file only. Okay. It doesn't have any node. It doesn't have like any sort of computation. Okay. It is just a storage. That's all.
Okay.
It supports all the file formats, right,
Yes.
Abhishek?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how to create a this storage, right? So let me go here. So you can type the naming convention will be always like, so the standard naming convention is SA is a storage account. So you always type SA. You always type your project name, which is KPI dashboarding or whatever project you're working, you type that. And you also type the environment. If it is a dev environment that you type, and then region is not so important. Sometimes you type it, sometimes you don't type it, right? It depends upon project to project. Like in general, no, which I have seen, right? But if you want to type it, you can type it. How to name storage account. Environment, project type, number. So environment prod, stagey, but I suggest to type SA as well, which basically gave you a storage account name as well, right? That is better. So let's type like this, right? So here I type like SG, which is storage account, SA, which is storage account. Then KPI dashboarding is my project. Dev is my environment. So I will type like this. Region you can choose, right? So region will be known to you. You will not select it. And region is generally selected based upon how you are doing a migration. For example, like if your all of this data center is located in like East US, for example, then I will deploy my cloud storage as well in East US so that the migration is faster and it is cheaper. If I deploy this in India, then my migration will be costly, right? Because Azure needs to move the data from here to the cloud storage, which is there in India. So the migration will be costly. So you generally select the deployment in the same region in which your on-premise server is present. In my 8 years of career, I never took this decision. You will not take it. Generally, it's already decided by admin or by an architect, right? So this is pretty known already. You don't need to decide this, okay? but I'm selecting the central India. Preferred storage type, I'm not selecting, like I'm just giving by default. Everything is by default here. This I also I'm not doing redundancy, also I'm not doing, right? So everything is by default here. This nobody asks in the interview, but sometimes like in exams, your AZ 900 exam, it can be asked. So you can read the definition of it. It is just like how your data will be replicated, stored in multiple locations. So it has different definition. You can read about it, you can learn about it, okay? But it is not asked in the interview. It is mainly asked when you give this AZ 900 exam, okay? Now, security, we will not go into this detail because we are not admin, right? All of this taken care by admin, right? This, if you click on this, this will create data lake Gen 2. If you uncheck on this will create a blob storage for you, right? So this option you can check, uncheck as per your requirement, right? And everything, I'm not touching anything, right? So I'm just like access here. This is also, all of this is also the important. Sometimes it can be asked in AZ 900 exam. This also not asked in AZ 900 exam, right? So let's go here. This is all networking security. We are not going into details of it. This is also, we are not going into details of it. This is generally been used when you want to deploy your storage account in a private network. For example, somebody tells you that, hey, this cloud storage should be also located in a private network. Like suppose a company has its own network. In that network itself, the cloud storage should be deployed. In that case, this should be selected by admin, right? You don't need to do it. Neither we will do it right now. Okay, so let's go here also. This also will not go deep into this. Everything is by default, right? Everything is by default. Tags, I can just tell you tags because sometimes it's important to understand, like to filter and things, right? So suppose owner is Abhishek, uh, project is suppose KPI deployment or what, KPI dashboarding or whatever, right? Now review and create. Okay, so what are the things we have changed in the advanced section? We just like made this over here. We just made like we haven't selected this, right? And in the tags we have written this, right? And everything is by default after that. We haven't done any changes, right? So everything is by default after that. Okay. Here also basics is normal, advanced is normal, everything is by default, right? So hit review and create. I'm not creating it because I do have a storage account with me, right? So I'm not creating it right now, but you can create like this. Or let me show you, like because I added a tag and I don't know in other storage account we do have a tag. So let me show you by creation of it. Storage account is created by admin. Everything is created by admin. None of the resources will be created by you. Everything is created by admin. Okay. In all the project I have done till now, I haven't created, like in very small companies when I worked, or suppose I got some sort of a contract work for 6-7 months, right? I'm just doing some work on the side hustle. In that case, I might be creating a storage account because those projects are small. But in general, no. 90% of the time, no. So it's a work of a Azure admin, right? This guys will be doing it. Solution architect will create architecture diagram. Azure admin will deploy the architecture diagram, right? So suppose this architecture diagram will be created by admin, and then all this deployment like creation of Databricks or a data lake or networking or security, all of that will be done by admin. And then you go here and then you start development. That is your work, okay? So deployment is completed. Let's go to the resource. Here I created a blob service, right? That you are able to see here. Now over here, like suppose if you have like many um so suppose I have tags, the tags which I have created, it is generally being used when in a particular company you have like many blob storage. For example, you have 50 to 60 blob storage, and then you want to basically, and then there are like people, right? Suppose it can be the case that hey, in Aldi they have different system owners, right? So suppose it can happen that, hey, Dynamics 365 is owned by someone, MS SQL is owned by someone, Oracle is owned by someone, SAP is owned by someone, SharePoint is owned by someone, right? And these guys, and then what you want to do, you want to basically like filter based upon the owners, system owners, right? So what you can do, you can go over here, you can just like add filters, and you can add like application owner, and then you can select Abhishek, what are the project Abhishek is handling, and then you can just like filter it, right? So it is basically use tags is being used to filter your resources based upon the requirement. For that, you will be using the tag. Okay. All right. Now, I think this storage account is good enough, right? Anybody has any doubt on this? You can ask me if you have any doubt on this.
So, I mean, why you have created this storage account? I mean, you have already created one ADLS now, Gen 2. So why you have created this cloud storage?
Sorry, this one.
Yeah,
Why I
just now I
created?
created. Yeah.
So why I created? You're asking me? You're asking me why I created this?
Yes, yes. I mean, are we going to use this in our project or just to how we
Yeah,
are
yeah, we will use
creating
this. We'll
this?
use this. We will use this storage account in our project. That is what we will be doing.
Okay, man. So my question is, I mean, both the storage account we'll use. I mean, one you have created one is for the ADLS Gen 2, and this
Mhm.
one you have created blob storage. So both the storage. uh,
No, both the storage won't be used. Only data lake Gen 2 will be used.
Okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
created to show you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got
So
it.
what we are trying to do, we are trying to implement the project, but also at the same time, we are trying to learn different concepts as well, so that that is also clear. Okay. So it's not
Got
like
it.
everything, whatever we are learning, it's project centric. It's more of a like learning other things as well, at the same time heading into the project as well. Okay. Okay, guys. Anybody has any doubt till here?
Can you show me how to use tag? I missed it.
Go here, add filter, select
Okay.
option, go to application owner, select like equals to whatever, not application. Yeah, so here select blank something. 1 second. Not application, it's like owner. So owner, for application owner, I haven't given anything. So here I selected Abhishek and I filtered this. Okay. So you need to select, there are different tags which you have made, application owner, owner, project name, right? There are different tags which we have made in different storage accounts. So you can select which particular tag you want to select and filter.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Now, after this, right, the storage account can be also managed by Storage Explorer. Hmm. So here you can basically download the Storage Explorer, right, in Windows machine or Mac OS, right? You can download your Storage Explorer. Why we are downloading the Storage Explorer? Like once you download the Storage Explorer, right? You see any video, it's just like simple download, right? Go to YouTube and then type download Storage Explorer. You'll see many videos. Watch any one video, download it. And once you download the Storage Explorer, you can like over here you have a storage account, right? So what you can do once you download the Storage Explorer, you will be able to connect like your this account, like the account which you created in Storage Explorer, directly you can log in. Okay. Once you log in, then you will be able to see all your like accounts which you have here, right? That you will be able to see there as well. Okay, so you will be able to see this, and this. You will be able to see over there as well. Why we are downloading this Storage Explorer? Because it just give you better UI to manage things, right? Suppose you can just drag drop things over here, over there. Suppose over here, I don't have like a drag drop option, right? And then here I can, if I want to move something directly, like suppose if I want to move department file into this folder, that kind of a option I don't have it here, right? But you'll get all of this option in the Storage Explorer. It's much more like it is a tool given by Azure to manage your storage, like a better UI to just like move things here and there and then manage things, right? It's just like SQL Server Management Studio is there to manage SQL servers, right? It's just like that. So you can download Storage Explorer and then you can also like be familiar with that because it's generally used in companies, right? So if somebody's saying Storage Explorer, you should be aware about it. So I'm informing that, okay? All right. So all right. So what are the things we have done till now? We basically understood. So these are the things you should be able to do, right? Creation of storage account, creation of blob storage, download Storage Explorer. Okay, so kindly complete all of this videos, all of this like homework, right? Now, the other thing is, suppose we understood that, hey, in this particular Databricks course, we will be basically focusing on the data processing, okay? So we will try to understand how to process the data, right? In Databricks, how to process the data, okay? Like over here as well, if we have multiple files, right? How to process the data whenever the data is landing to your bronze layer, silver layer, and then make a gold layer and then do the dashboarding. And if you have this kind of architecture, how to read the data, CSV data, JSON data, XML data into the Databricks, and then move it to the Azure SQL Delta Lake table and then do the dashboarding, right? That we have learned. Now, you are like whenever you are trying to process the data, you will, and then if you're processing the data in Databricks, right? In general, like always in general, you will be reading the data when you're doing a batch processing. Batch processing means the data is loaded. How many of you are not aware about the difference between a batch processing and a stream processing? Please type no in the chat if you're not aware about it. What is the difference between a batch processing and a stream processing? If you don't know, please type no in the chat. Okay, everybody knows. So anybody wants to describe what is batch processing, stream processing, if anywhere all the people knows about it. Can you please guys describe what is batch processing and stream processing? What is the difference between batch processing and stream processing? Anybody wants to describe, guys? It's completely fine if you are saying something wrong, but please go ahead and tell me what do you mean by batch processing, stream processing?
Yeah, batch processing is something that the data will be already loaded into one of the container and we read it end of the day. Whereas stream processing is the real-time data that keeps coming, data from IoT devices and all that keeps coming continuously, and we keep reading it on a real time. Yeah, that's called stream processing.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. So now, is that? All right. Anyways, let's try to. I want to open this architecture diagram, but anyways. So now, thank you, Vijay, for giving the answer. Right. Now let's try to understand what is like uh, a batch processing and stream processing, and then I will also explain why we are discussing that right now. Okay. So whenever we are doing any sort of a project, right, there can be two requirement. Okay. One requirement is I want, like, suppose if there is a Power BI or whatever, suppose if there is a application as well here, right? Any application as well, which is consuming the data from your SQL server. That can be, it can be the case that an application is consuming the data from your storage, right? That can also happen. Like you move the data from here and then you copy paste it and then application is consuming the data, right? That can also happen. Now, there can be multiple scenarios. For example, like if I am going to a particular bank, right, and I basically deposit my money, right? I just given some money in the bank, and then like this guy is the bank people updated it in their some sort of a application which they are using, like Oracle or whatever their application they're using, and this like they updated in their normal system in the backend it is updated in Oracle, right? And then it is basically updated over here, and in their front end application in SDFC bank portal as well, it should be shown then and there, right? It should be presented to you, because you will not wait for a day, right? You will not come next day and then your money is deposited that you don't want to see. Once you give the money to them, you just want to refresh your application and you want to see that, hey, my money got deposited, right? That you want to see then and there. So for that, it is a streaming processing. Streaming processing means you want the data, you want your output of the data then and there, right? You don't want to wait it. At the same time, if I am going to some healthcare domain, if I'm working in a healthcare domain, and every day, suppose I need to measure the blood pressure, right? So I'm measuring the blood pressure, right? And then the blood pressure, whatever measurement I'm noting down, that should come then and there in my dashboard, right? So that I can understand whether the blood pressure is fluctuating, how was it a few minutes back, and all of that that I can understand, right? Now, suppose the another use case is, suppose in the like you are working in a factory and then you have an alarm system. If somebody is not wearing a helmet, you have an alarm system. So in that case, like alarm should be triggered if somebody is not wearing the helmet, right? So the image should be recognized and then it should be processed and it should be reported and it should trigger an alarm, right? Then and there. So all of this processing should happen real time. And in retail as well, suppose in retail in all the cases as well. So in these cases, for example, if you are working in a banking domain, if you have working in a healthcare domain, if your manager is saying that, hey, you have a healthcare project, or if you have a banking project, it can happen that you work on the streaming project. It can happen because they have critical requirement. They have the requirement that your money should be reported or your health should be reported then and there in these domains, right? But in in uh, in your retail domain, it's not so urgent. For example, if Aldi wants to understand total sales, it's not like every hour they want to understand total sales, right? It's not like that, right? If they want to analyze the business, they can analyze in a day, right? Suppose somebody load the data in MS SQL, I can process the data in the night and I can report in the Power BI morning, right? That I can do rather than reporting every 5 seconds, reporting every 5 minutes, right? That I don't want to do. So that is, and reporting every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour is also not streaming. Streaming is mainly like very real time processing, right? Suppose if somebody updated, then and there your Power BI should be refreshed, right? That is streaming. Okay, so streaming is basically your processing is happening real time, right? Near real time, right? That is a streaming project. Okay, so in Aldi as well, there can be the case that you need some sort of a streaming project. For example, let me give you a scenario in retail when you need a streaming project.
I'll give an example. Like
Yeah,
I just worked on a POC of Ambattur Fashion. Like they said that the data which will be coming through the hierarchy, like building floor and then machines and all. So they asked me to give the data which will detect the anomaly detection after 10 minutes. So like that
after 10
POC,
days.
yeah, means completion of 1 hour. After completion of 1 hour, the data will be coming, and after completion of an hour, I have to check for the anomaly detection and report in the dashboard.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the example which she has given is also um, real-time streaming, right? For example, like if somebody is giving you the data and then you want to report it in 10 hour, 1 hour. Am I right? Like data is uploaded somewhere and you need to process and then find
Yeah,
anomaly in 1 hour. Am I right?
yeah, after completion of that hour. Yeah.
But this is not a real-time streaming, right?
Uh, Maybe means not completely, but it was
For
like so.
example, what you are telling is like um, here the data will come in some sort of folder, right?
Mm,
Data is
mm,
loaded, and within
mm.
1 hour you have to find anomalies, right?
No, completion. If nine at nine the shift starts, then 9 to 10, whatever the data will be getting, it will be updated, and then after updation, after 10, means to 10 past 15, it will detect the anomaly.
Hmm.
Likewise. Hmm.
Okay, so this is also not like yeah, real-time streaming in some ways, but not like real-time streaming, right? But what I can think of, let me think of
I can
something.
tell you, Abhishek.
Yeah.
Real time, we can say like CCTV analytics. Currently, I'm
Yeah.
working in one
Yeah.
project where
Mm-hmm.
we are capturing the CCTV video,
Mm-hmm.
and then model is identifying the images in the real time, and those images extracting from the video and showing into the front end screen actually.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of completely where we are using Kafka and all, so it is completely
Yeah,
real
yeah,
time.
all right. Very good example. So suppose in Aldi or in any retail chain, the cashier is tracked through a camera, and then if cashier is just like taking money and then like just like uh, uh, so not like taking money and then putting it in the pocket, but rather than like doing that in their own system, then they want to detect it, right? Then they want to report it then and there. So this kind of a system need a real-time streaming that if something bad happens, then they report it. Or for example, they have in Aldi as well, or in very retail chain as well, they have different trucks in warehouse, right? And everybody is just like everything is automated. In that case, they want to check that hey, um, all the things which we have ordered, everything is went into truck rather than going it sideways, right? So those things needs analysis, and for that, like we need real-time streaming, right? So in these cases, we need a streaming, but in general, these scenarios are less rather than like mainly the streaming projects are there in this in um, healthcare domain or a banking domain in retail chain. You will have these cases, but they are okay with, in general, the most of the scenarios are batch processing. Okay, batch processing means the data is loaded and then you can process it and then you can report it. Okay, so now when you see a streaming processing project, right, a streaming processing project, stream processing project. Okay, so this is a very good example to explain both of them. Right? If you see here, Databricks, whenever any streaming processing project happens, right? So Databricks directly read the data from Event Hub or Kafka or whatever it is, right? Databricks directly read the data, process it, write the data to Azure Data Lake, okay? In stream processing project, right? Now in batch processing project, what happens is data factory takes the data from different source system, put the data to the blob storage or data lake gen 2, and then you read the data in Databricks, then you process it, right? And then you make it a process layer. So suppose what happened over here is, just to make things very simple, the data is coming from different source system to data lake, right? Data is coming from different source system to data lake using data factory, right? So here from different source system, data is coming to data lake using data factory, right? From different source system, data is coming to data lake using data factory, right? This is a batch processing architecture. In general, in batch processing, we use data factory or we use Synapse or we use Fabric to load the data to the data lake. That is what we do, okay? And you basically read those data points into the Databricks environment, you process it, you write it back to the process layer or bronze layer or silver layer, whatever it is, right? But now when it comes to stream processing, when you have a stream processing, means every second data is coming, be it a IoT hub, be it a banking domain, be it a healthcare domain, whatever it is. The gist of it is every second data should be processed, analyzed, reported, right? In that case, you will read the data using Databricks, right? Because in data factory, the streaming data factory cannot handle streaming projects. Data factory cannot handle that. Data factory can do real-time processing, near real-time. So it can process data every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, that it can do. But it cannot do real-time processing, right? So whenever you have a streaming project, you will read the data through Databricks, and then you basically write the data over here. And then in case of batch processing, you read the data from different source system, you use data factory, you write it back to the raw storage. That is what you do, right? So this storage is being created by us because in case of batch processing as well, this is a first layer of storage. And in case of streaming processing as well, this is the first layer of storage, right? Now, when we will try to implement things, right, we will basically take the data from here. So this particular part, okay, this part, I will just show you like in 1-2 class, but this particular part, the streaming processing, we won't be covering. What we will be covering is how to, once the data is there in the raw layer, how to get the data into the Databricks, process it, write it back over here, and then how to make a like a transform layer, right? This is what we will see. But this particular part, we will not go into details of this, like how to read the data from Kafka and do the stream processing. We will understand it in a interview perspective, not in detail, okay? Now, how the data will come to the blob storage. Over here, the data, how the data will come to the blob storage, right? This also will be covered in the like your next module, which is a data factory module, right? But I will give you some videos, 3-4 videos through which you can understand. It's a very basic process that you connect data factory with your source system and then you move the data along. And I will give you 4-5 videos through which you can, like 2-3 videos only through which you can understand this, okay? So I will give you a video about it. But now, for now, what we will do in the lectures, we will take the data from over here directly, which will be coming using data factory from different source system to raw layer, right? And then we'll be processing using Databricks. But during the lecture, I will be directly uploading the data over here and I will be processing on top of it, right? From data factory, it will be coming over here and I will give you the videos through which you can understand it, okay? Now, anybody has any question on whatever I said?
Abhishek, just tell me about the database streaming process and batch process. The processing things are different, means the process is different for both, right?
Uh,
Or
the
same?
way you do it, this like you do a read stream, write stream, checkpoint thing
Mhm.
you do in the stream processing, it's bit different than a batch processing.
Okay, and then aggregations and all are like similar, right?
Similar, but you first need to understand batch processing and then you go and work with the stream processing. That is why it's designed like that. We will be learning batch processing, and then going ahead, once you understand batch processing, you can also work with stream processing. But the process is a bit different, not like completely different, but it is a bit different.
Okay. And Abhishek, could you show that architecture diagram where you shown like different sources? I think it was there first in the pamphlet. No, the CSV and all this. Yeah, that. Yeah. So like ingestion with Synapse pipeline. Synapse means what, Abhishek?
So see, ingestion can be done using data factory pipeline. Ingestion
Hmm.
can be done using Synapse pipeline. Ingestion can be done using Fabric pipeline.
Okay.
Okay, what
Mhm.
is this? What is all of this, right? So basically, in 2016, after SSIS, right? After SSIS, which is SSIS is a like on-premise migration tool of Microsoft. This SSIS SQL Server Integration Service, this is the on-premise migration tool of Microsoft, right? So it was a previous migration tool given by Microsoft. But on top of this, they build Data Factory, which is a cloud-based migration tool. They build Data Factory. Then after that, they wanted to, Microsoft is like in direction of making one tool for everything rather than having multiple tools. So they made a Synapse pipeline, Synapse workspace, which is this one. This Synapse Analytics workspace. In this Synapse Analytics workspace, you can ideally create a pipeline. You can also do Spark processing. You can also do a SQL processing as well. So they made one tool. Now after that, nobody is using Synapse now. Like people are just migrating to a Fabric now. So because like that has been used because which is a SaaS solution. But now once you learn Data Factory, like the like you understand the traditional Data Factory tool, you will be able to do migration using Synapse, and also you will be able to do the migration using Fabric. That we will learn going forward, but we'll not learn Fabric or we will not learn Synapse as well, and I will not suggest you to learn because these tools are not being used in the production environment. Like in general, whenever you go to any job roles, right, you will see mostly Data Factory rather than looking at Fabric or Synapse.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody has any question, guys? Batch processing like daily or on twice or on 4 hours. Batch processing is daily, also 4 hours, also like half an hour. Everything is batch processing. What is stream? So whenever you have the data and you're doing it on a periodical cycle, that is batch processing. Stream processing is every second you're loading the data. That is stream processing. Okay. So let's see the definition as well. What ChatGPT is saying.
Uh, Abhishek,
Yeah, go ahead.
Vijay here. Is it possible to call you after this meeting gets over?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I have something to ask with you
yeah, yeah,
specifically.
yeah, yeah. We can
Yeah.
talk.
Okay. Thank you.
See, batch processing is batch process large chunk of data collected over a time of like period of time, process continuously as soon as file arrives, right? As soon as changes happens in your table, as soon as any changes happen, it will process your data. Batch is basically minutes to hour, milliseconds to seconds, right? Use cases are ETL pipeline, monthly report, billing, analytics, right? Fraud detection, IoT sensors, alert. So whatever example we have seen till now, right? Alerts and then fraud detection, money deposit, like some sort of a blood pressure monitoring and all of that. Uses historical data, uses live data, architecture is data lake, blob storage, right? Event streaming is, we have seen, right? Over here, batch is like this. Event is you are basically doing Kafka, Event Hub, Kinesis, triggered on a schedule, always running, right? All of that you can see. Now I also suggest you guys, whenever you are like learning something, try to come here, try to just like ask questions here and then try to analyze things through which you'll also understand what is the difference between, for example, difference between like your blob is showing data like Gen2 that you can also type, and then you can also understand the perspective from here, right? All right, guys. So this is what I wanted to explain. Tomorrow we will start on Databricks. We will understand why Databricks is important, why Spark is important, and all of that will go into. But you guys can like practice till here, and I really request you guys to create your subscription, create resource group, create data lake gen 2, create blob storage, and also like create your um, storage explorer, download that, and also practice that. All of that you can do, and make notes about what is the difference between batch streaming and then real-time streaming, right? All of that you can maintain. And I will also give you some videos, 2 to 3 videos, which you can watch and understand how the data will come in data lake storage. This is already covered as a part of a second module, but it's better you just watch it for 1 2 hour so that you know that as well. Okay, so it will just take like 2 hours to watch that video and understand it. It's okay if you watch. If you have time, you can watch it. If you don't have time, then you can watch it later on as well. It doesn't affect the flow, the how Databricks will. It will not affect that kind of a flow. Okay. All right. So I will conclude it here. I will upload all the recordings in the class notes, and you can refer that and then understand things. Okay. All right. If you have any question, I'm here. If not, then we'll meet tomorrow, same time. Thank you so much. Bye.
Abhishek, please drop the videos. Huh? Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Abhishek, I'll call you in WhatsApp after this meeting.
Yeah, give me 5 10 minutes. I will ping you, and then we can have a call.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay. All
Please
right.
send the videos, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.